sure, it always looks good on the paper, but when you purchase it, how practical is it for you to execute your whatever your plan is? It's 15 square meter, which is tiny for even for like Tokyo. What it didn't say on the website is it actually takes you 20 minutes of bus ride to get to Hachioji Station. Since we encounter a lot of foreign investors in Hong Kong and Singapore, so often we're asked like, what do you think of this property? So this is the reason why I want to just like point out a few things that we will see and something investors should probably consider when they put their money down to this investment. So for example, this Osaka house, we don't really know exactly the location. It's hard to evaluate exactly what the land value and or the fair property price would be. So when you invest in a house like this, first of all, it's large. Unless for personal use, you have a family that's going to be living there. If you want to use it for Airbnb, it will be very difficult to rent out because due to the space. How easy is it for you going to be able to find clients who want to rent out the whole place? Also, since it's a large house and it seems to be far away from a train station, so I think for tourists, that's not very convenient. So that's something, again, you need to consider. Sure, it always looks good on the paper, but when you purchase it, how practical is it for you to execute your whatever your plan is to rent out as like Airbnb or to any other travelers? This is a pretty expensive house. So for Japanese, typically if a house exceeds 120 million Japanese yen, it'll be very difficult for them to obtain loans from the bank. So meaning like for any single families who are going to raise the kids, they're looking for a house to stay. When they see these houses, it's out of their budget. So your best shot is to see if you can find another international investors who's willing to pay the same price you pay to get this house. But that will reduce your pool of potential buyers. From the website that is shown, it doesn't really reveal much information. But however, there's another website we can check to see if we can dig in further information. But I want to start with the size of this unit. First of all, it's 15 square meter, which is tiny for even for like Tokyo. If you purchase a unit like this, first, you're not going to be very comfortable living there, or your tenant's not going to be very comfortable living there. And when you try to sell it, I think any other potential buyers would look at the same problems. So sure, it may looks pretty cheap on the paper, but you have to think about like how easy is it for you to resell it. If you're going to have a hard time resell it, I don't think that's something investors are looking for in the first place. I'll definitely look at the management fee and then also like the reserve fund. Reserve fund is pretty much a fund at any building prepared for rainy days. For example, you need to repair the elevator, you need to repair the exterior of the buildings. And from the information I could find on this building, they have a very low reserve fund, which means if anything happened, the owners will need to take money out of their pocket to fix whatever it needs to fix in the building, which I think potentially it's going to lower your investment value and lower your returns. And also there's no information about the building's age or the materials of the building. So it's really hard to evaluate whether if you're paying fair market prices for this unit. I think this unit also has a pretty high management fee compared to like what you see in the area. So you're having a smaller unit, paying higher management fee. How is it going to impact your overall returns? That's something you should really consider and think about. I think typically like 5% of your rentals is a fair market price in Japan. So anything above that or below that, you need to think about if you're overpaying it or are you going to get a good quality of management service from the service provider. So this property actually is in Hachioji, which is also a very town with like a lot of potentials. It's near Tokyo, and we have been there and we have been looking for many investment opportunities. But what's interesting about this one is what it didn't say on the website is it says it's 20 minutes to the Hachioji station, which when you look into the map or other information from other website, it actually takes you 20 minutes of bus ride to get to Hachioji station. So I think it's very different than a 20 minutes walk to the station versus a 20 minutes bus ride to get to the station. And, I think a lot of information are not shown on the website that was shown to foreign investors, but you got to really know which Japanese website to look for to find out, okay, this is not actually the case. Well, you just have to go to the website that any Japanese real estate companies would use. If you go to the website, actually, you look at the locations, you could tell, right? It's definitely not close to Hachioji Station. So the only way, actually, in the Japanese website, it did mention it takes a 20 minutes bus ride to get there. It was just not shown on the other foreign websites. Yeah, I think this is like basic information. If you look at any Japanese website, they will show you. But unfortunately, on this other websites, they don't tell you this information. And I would assume it will be even harder for any foreign investor to be able to find that out, without like having access to this like Japanese website or information. So in a way, I think it's a potential risk for investors not being able to tell all this kind of like details, but really important stuff they need to know. Well, I tend to believe because like it's due to the fact like a lot of people are selling Japanese properties may or may not have access to this information, or just simply don't know, or they're just passing information around. I don't know. Could be many reasons, but I think that is not the best way for you to discover investment opportunities in a foreign country. In this case, if the reserve fund is low and anything happened to the building, and you just happen to purchase the property in this building, which means like you are probably already losing money before you even start making any money from the rental income. So I think for a lot of investors, not having to pay a high reserve fund fee or management fee may be seen attractive in the beginning, but there's a reason for these fees. It's for you to protect your investment in the long run, because you want to make sure the property is safe, the property is in good condition for you to continue to be able to attract tenants for your investments. So this one is somehow very interesting because we simply can't get a lot of information, but somehow it's listed as some website and maybe some investor would potentially buy it. So we couldn't tell which the nearest station is. We don't know the walking distance. We don't know the building's age. We don't know the building's construction materials, which in that case, we have pretty much no information to evaluate the fair market price of this property. I'll say by the look of it, it definitely it's a wooden structure building, and definitely look beyond its 23-year lifespan, which is fine. I think for a living standard, it could still be habitable, but from the accounting standards, meaning like it had already exceeded its lifespan as a wooden structure building. What does that mean? Meaning like pretty much if you take this building to the bank, try to apply for a loan, the bank will only evaluate the value based on the land it sits on, but not the property, because the property itself has zero value to the bank anymore because it has exceeded its lifespan. So you want to make sure you understand this piece of information before you negotiate any price or pay for this building, because you got to really understand, like, if you minus the depreciation, how much are you paying as a premium for this investment? Give it a fair guess. I think just based on the size and the land, maybe around 8 to 10 million Japanese yen. It's hard. It's really hard to say. Like I'm guessing it's 8 to 10 million. So I would definitely. First of all, I wouldn't even buy this property. So if you want to buy, I would probably want to make sure I don't pay anything above 10 million, because otherwise I think you're just gonna lose money. So in this building, it doesn't really show the building's construction materials. It doesn't show which station is close. The closest station is, the walking distance to the station. Only thing I can see is the building's age. Okay, it was built in 1986. So that's like almost 40-year-old building, which I assume this is a wooden structure building because it only have like 2 stories. So definitely exceed its lifespan. So what the important information you need to know is, like, a 4-year-old wooden structure building, if you take that to the bank and try to apply for a loan, the bank will only evaluate by its land value, which leads to another question, like exactly which location or where is the land located at? Because if you don't know that, then you simply don't know how much you should pay as a fair market price for these lands. Well, I've seen some pretty, extreme cases, like they charge like 20%, 30% management fee, which is ridiculous because that pretty much eat up a big chunk of your revenue. So these management company, they do like the day-to-day operations. Like if something needs to be fixed, they'll come and fix it. And if something needs to be changed, they'll come do it for you. So, those like things that's in your day-to-day life, if you have any problems, they will come in to fix it for you. We usually start with like some local, trustworthy property management companies because it varies. The last thing we want is to hire someone who charge a low price but doesn't really care about your property, and your property is always in a pretty bad shape, because in the long run it's going to impact how much rent you could collect and the value of the properties when you try to sell it. Right, for us, we always go for which one has been business a long time in the local area and who has a good reputable history. So that's something we will start looking for. So we're not really looking as like using price as a filter to select property management companies. We look for something that's more long-term, more sustainable when we choose like a partner for property management. First, I think if they charge a very, very low price, that's usually something you should be aware of. And then, go look at the properties they have been managing, just to look at the experience. Like, do you see yourself living here, or do you see yourself having a good quality of life when in these buildings? I think starting from that, you should have a pretty clear answer on if this property management company is going to be able to satisfy your needs. So, I mean, for us, like, actually, some of the information are pretty transparent. For example, if you go to this website, it actually shows you the management fee and how much they have in reserve funds. So I think that itself is pretty transparent. You should really look up into this kind of information. And the more you research, the better idea you would have in the future when you look at any properties, like see if these numbers make sense to you at all. I would imagine like if you're in Japan as a foreigner and if you don't know how to read or speak Japanese, it'll be more difficult to obtain these information, since most of these informations are only listed in Japanese websites. So I think something investors should consider, maybe they would need to find someone they can really trust who could translate for them or help them to have access to these informations. I think first of all, a lot of these kind of information are like remain like locally. So when you go there, whenever we go to a new like area, it takes time to build relationship with construction companies. It takes time to build relationship with property management companies, or even with the banks. So they would give you the information you need to make the right investment decisions. So I think it all takes time. And as a foreigner, I think that would be the most challenging part. Like how are you going to be able to go in there and build relationship with this like Japanese companies? Yeah, for example, one of our latest projects in Osaka, the information of the land came from the construction companies. So that itself already saved us a lot of time on trying to evaluate, because we know in coming from the construction companies themselves is also investing in the area. So that really answered a lot of questions like before we haven't even have to dig in further, because we know what kind of size of building we can build and we can apply our own designs. We know the demographic, we know how to set the rent, the price range for the rent. So a lot of things like really depending on like this like internet work information that takes time to build to help you to eliminate the risk and to find the good opportunities out there. You have to say, because due to the nature of the Japanese real estate business, sometimes these information are just passed among between like the banks, the mortgage departments, real estate agencies, or construction companies. So it will be harder for foreign investors to penetrate into this like inner network.